is my webpage, Lamont Gilchrist, Natty on YouTube, Lamont Gilchrist, all caps on Instagram. I want to give a good congratulations, man. It's February, early in this year. All my clients are really excited. They're getting great fat loss gains, building lean muscle tissue, really having a lot of success on what it is that they're doing from a nutritional. Got people in Great Britain. I got people all over the world getting ready for contests, Heartland Classics, people on competition diets, people getting ready for trips, people on lifestyle changes, people trying to get over the battle with obesity. So we got a whole bunch of different aspects and things going on, and everybody seems to be really pleased. And I'm happy for everyone. Keep up the good work. So my program, when I designed my program, that's what I envisioned for my program, is to be able to help a big variety of people, not just athletes, but the general public and the general population. I got over 15,000 training hours. I got so many continuous study hours that I can't even imagine. I can't even really calculate it because I study all the time. Ultimately, being enlightened and really living this lifestyle, I always study and trying to find easier answers or easier way to do things so that I'm able to affect and help a bigger group of people or a bigger population, and to empower them or give them back the ability to not be dependent on pharmaceutical companies and other industries for their health and for their quality of life. But with saying that, I know my program works without a shadow of a doubt. But when people come to me, not everybody, convinced or sold on my program. And so sometimes they like to try to save their own program. So I do give free consultations, and most of the time, I usually just start with a question and answer. Somebody give me a little background information and tell me what it is that they're trying to do. And I see from all the experience that I have, if what they're doing, if we can match something up. So I could give it to them in the consultation, and maybe they could go and perform it and try it, and hopefully they can better improve whatever it is that they're already doing. So in this video, I'm going to do a little role play. I usually go, people contact me, they'll give me a little information. And then in most cases, the number one thing I always get, people like, well, I want to lose fat on my arms, I want to lose some fat on my legs and stuff like that. So then I have to go into a scientific explanation. Because once you have an understanding of how things work, you can pretty much figure out, can you do it or can't you do it? And so I go into a scientific explanation telling them subcutaneous fat is not a organism that is connected to the muscle, so you cannot work the muscle and get rid of the fat right there. You can lose body fat eventually in all places, but it just kind of depends on how your body attacks or how your body utilizes body fat. There's some rules of thumb. Most of the time, body fat is stored in the midsection, just because it protects the internal organs, because it's easily ready to get to the brain and get to the bigger organs, the heart and stuff like that, for function and being broken down. And as you get further away from the body, usually there's not body fat being stored. The one thing, the difference between body fat and muscle, which people don't tend to understand, is that with body fat, you're pretty much born with the fat cells that your body's going to have. You can have it removed from liposuction, how fat cells removed from you, but the fat cells, they work as storage units for energy to be stored later for brain function, neurotransmitters, energy, being able to just survive. And so what happens is that the fat cells get filled up and they expand, and so that's how you get the fat underneath you. Or either they get depleted, and then you don't have a big fat storage underneath your skin. And so, and in order to affect those conditions, in most cases, the fat storage underneath your skin, There's two things that I know for sure that kind of works. So there's drugs, because drugs stimulate neurotransmitters. Drugs cause certain chemical reactions. They suppress appetite and things like that. So you actually eat your own body, but you also speed up your neurotransmitters, or the energy inside your body. And neurotransmitter take glucose, which is energy, and so do muscles. That you don't have to be working your muscles. If your neurotransmitters and your brain is taking the glucose, it'll burn glucose, which won't be stored as body fat. So that's one way. Then the other way is by limiting or manipulating with exercise and eating the hormone or the storage of glucose or the release of insulin and glycagon, which is what the pancreas releases at high or at low blood sugar levels. So then, they're like, okay, all right. And so then we'll start maybe discussing a caloric in and caloric out diet. And I say, yeah, it can work, because how that works is that if there is not enough glucose in the body or in the bloodstream, then the body reads, or the pancreas is giving a signal to say, release glycagon, and that goes into the storage either in the liver or the subcutaneous underneath the skin, and so you start to utilize that as energy. The byproduct, or the downside to that, to me, kind of, is that you still may not be getting macro and micronutrition. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting complete proteins. And at some point, you may go into a gluconeogenesis, and you may be burning amino acids and fats, and then you're starting to talk about burning lean muscle tissue, so you're lowering the furnace, which is one of the big furnaces as far as your metabolism, which everything is your metabolism, your brain, just regular function, your respiratory system, digestive system, everything is your metabolism. So it's not just burning body fat, but one of the big furnace to your metabolisms is the muscle, or the lean muscle tissue, because it takes more to burn it or to sustain it at a resting rate. Even fat burns fat, but not as efficient as muscle burns fat. So that's one of the downfalls that I would explain to them at a caloric in and caloric out diet. You can do some different cyclings, like you could go low carb a couple of days to make sure that you get into glycagon release from the pancreas, the blood sugar lower, start burning fatty acids, release lipids from underneath your skin, and then go back up to replenish it. And sometimes, you got to have some kind of understanding of what liver glycogen storage is, and how these different storage units are filled up, or what different chemicals fill these storage units up. But it can work, I'll give them that. The same way with, like I said, with the drugs and with stimulants and other things and stuff like that. Then, you add in exercise and other different things. Now, there's 2 points of exercise that actually helps to affect the situation. One point of exercise is that ATP going through the curb system and using glucose and glycogen and anterior triphosphate, oxygen, and other things actually helps to stimulate the process of using glycogen, glucose as energy. And so when you're exercising, you do these particular things, regardless if it's cardiovascular, aerobic, plyometrics, sit-ups, and stuff like that, which is cool. And each different principle of exercising has a residual effect, meaning that it stretches out, that your body is going to be raised, that your neurotransmitters and everything else are going to be going off for a period of time, repair and other things are going to be going on, so that you have to use these chemicals or glucose in the repair cycle or in the recovery cycle, which means that you're not probably storing it. And so in the different exercising principles, you can get different things going. But actually doing brain stuff, or being conscious and doing puzzles and stuff like that, that actually helps too. if you're not constantly pushing in glycogen, because it takes neurotransmitters. If you can get your brain function to fire off, so that's kind of like how drugs work too. If you can get a whole bunch of brain activity, the brain eats up a lot of glycogen because it's just one of those organs that use that as its main fuel source. So you can eat it up that way, and then the neurotransmitters going to different parts of doing activities and stuff. Neurotransmitters are solely ran on glycogen, and so there's an endless, as long as you got things firing off, you got always have an endless burning of glycogen. And the reason why I keep on talking about glycogen and glucose and all these particular things like that, because you have to break even fats down to that very compound to be used as energy, to be breaking down into ATP and other things of that particular nature. Now, in the glyconeogenesis stage, now we're talking about breaking down fats. That's usually close to ketosis or somewhere in there. We're talking about breaking down fats, and we're talking about breaking down amino acids, which is now proteins. Now, your body is made of protein, so this is where it kind of gets tricky. You could be just breaking down dietary protein. You could be breaking down your own natural muscle. You could be breaking down food proteins. So when you start talking about going into ketosis or gluconeogenesis as an energy source to lose body fat, starving, that's the same thing if you just chose not to eat. That's basically what happened, and you'll go into ketosis. Now you're talking about breaking down amino acids, and so now we're talking about at a different level of glucose or your blood sugar being raised back up, or your body trying to make sure that the neurotransmitters and the brain have enough food. It really starts to not really care about the muscle because it's breaking down muscle or it's breaking down protein to try to fuel your heart and the things, the basic functions. Now you can lose weight that way. And anorexic, bulimic people kind of lose weight that way because they throw up, they eat it, they regurgitate it, so they're getting the fixation of the stomach feeling full, but they're regurgitating, so they're not getting the micronutrition. The body starts to eat away itself. The big problem there is that if you eat fat and you eat glucose and you eat protein at the same rate and you get smaller and you lose muscle density, now your metabolism, you're actually a little, in my opinion, a little bit more worse off than what you were, because now your metabolism, now you don't have as much lean muscle to keep your metabolism up there. So at some point, unless you just eat yourself away, but at some point, once you start eating these things, now your body is going to make sure that it doesn't get into that situation again, and it's going to store more body fat. Once it starts storing more body fat, now you lost lean muscle, you have bigger fat storage, and your body's going to make sure that it's going to be a lot harder for you to put it in that starving type of situation again. So, as you can see, in all these different programs, there are ways to get into losing body fat. There are ways to get into manipulating and changing your body composition, and people do it on a daily basis. We do it every day, whether we realize it or not. But to sustain it and to be able to live a lifestyle, you have to have a more complete blueprint or objective that you're trying to get to, so that you have some sustainability. And so I hope this kind of gives you a little insight. I know there's a lot of science in there, but I just wanted you to kind of get a taste of what it is that I do in a different